Your loved one is sick. Their words none of us ever seem prepared to hear. It feels like a punch in the gut because somehow you know they aren't just talking about a bad cold. Maybe it's the tone of the voice over the phone. Maybe you had had a premonition that you would be hearing these words and you didn't think they would have such a profound impact on you, but they do. Your loved one is sick, and so you drop everything and rush to the hospital. Except Jesus didn't. There's no doubt that Jesus had very strong feelings for Lazarus. Some scholars even think that the gospel's enigmatic beloved disciple was actually Lazarus. Jesus loved Lazarus, but for whatever reason, he didn't drop everything and rush off in a panic when he heard that Lazarus was sick. Instead, he stayed where he was for a couple more days. Maybe he had other things he needed to do, like to pray about the matter. You see, to move in the direction of Bethany, where Lazarus and his sisters lived, was also to move in the direction of Jerusalem. In fact, Bethany was only 2 miles east of Jerusalem, and Jerusalem was where the religious authorities were. So to go to Bethany was to seal his fate. It was to walk right into spitting distance of the hands of his enemies, those who had been plotting his death. Yeah, maybe he decided to stay where he was and just pray about the matter. But after 2 days, he told his disciples to pack up their stuff because they were going to Bethany. "Are you crazy?" they asked. "They were just now trying to stone you and you're going there again?" But 2 days of prayer, if indeed that's what he had been doing, convinced him that this is what needed to take place. And so off they went, despite the disciples' warnings, with Thomas resigned to their fate and recorded as saying, "Let us also go so that we may die with him." So 2 days later, Jesus and his disciples arrived at their destination. But it was too late. Lazarus had been dead for 4 days. This is an important detail because it was the Jewish belief at that time that the soul didn't actually leave the body until 3 days after one's death. And now it was 4 days, meaning Lazarus was really most sincerely dead. Jesus was met on the outskirts of town by Lazarus' sister Martha. Grief-stricken loved ones always need someone to blame. And in this case, she blamed Jesus for her brother's death. "If you had been here," she wailed, "he wouldn't have died. He would still be alive." Yes, she believed Jesus was the Messiah, but Lazarus was dead. Did Jesus presume to be greater and more powerful than death? So she called for her sister Mary, and Mary, upon arriving, greeted Jesus with the same words as Martha. "If you had been here, he wouldn't have died. He would still be alive." And as everyone knows, grief is contagious. You may not feel moved to tears about a situation, but when you see others crying, it sometimes stirs something deep within you, and you find yourself joining them in grief. Such was the case with Jesus. Jesus wept, but not for long. He wasn't the sort of person to just wallow in his grief. He had a plan, a daring plan. And so he commanded that the stone in front of the tomb be rolled away. And then he prayed, and then he cried out the name of his beloved and called him forth. "Lazarus, come out." And lo and behold, Lazarus staggered out of the tomb, still cocooned into strips of cloth that had so lovingly been wrapped around his body at the time of his death. Strips of cloth which, if not removed, would suffocate him and cause him to die once again. And so even though Jesus could have removed the funeral bindings himself, he told Lazarus's community to unbind him. Unbind him and let him go. And thus ends our story, a story only recorded in the Gospel of John, a story which provides the pivotal point of John's Gospel. Jesus' seventh and final miracle recorded by the gospel writer. A story which, once again, is a story of holy resistance. Resistance that leads to new life. Resistance against fear, his disciples' fear for his and their own safety. Resistance against doubt. Martha's and Mary's doubt that Jesus could do anything once their brother had been dead for 4 days. But Jesus resisted the fear and the doubt that could have easily seeped into his own spirit, and his holy resistance was one that led to new life for his beloved Lazarus. You and I are called to the same holy resistance as Jesus was. We are called to a resistance against the closets that entomb us, closets constructed from fear and doubt, fear of rejection and the shame that follows it, fear of loneliness, fear of harm by others, and violence against ourselves if we dare to live and love authentically. And doubt. Doubt that God can or will do anything to prevent that which we fear. Doubt born from hate-filled sermons and hateful rhetoric. If you are an ally or a member of the LGBTQ community, then you are well acquainted with the fear that accompanies authentic living and loving. And doubt has, at one time or another in your life, been a close companion. But if we can just resist the fear and doubt that plagues our lives, if we can manage to hold on to faith in a loving God, then we have a chance at a new life. Because God is calling us from our deathly closets, closets in which we entomb ourselves, closets which prevent us from living life as God intended for us to live. We are God's beloved. And God, surrounded by a bright light of unconditional love, calls us to new possibilities and a new and authentic life. Annas, come out. Thomas, come out. Johnny, come out. Come out where there is love and life. Come out where there is grace and acceptance. Come out. But we can't do it alone, can we? We need the love and support of our community. We need others to lovingly remove from us the words and phrases which have damaged our spirits. We need others to tend to our wounds and brokenness. We need the care and concern of a community of love to replace the isolation and alienation that has been our lot. We need it, or we will surely die. MCC is that community. We are the ones who must remove the bindings from others whose life is being squeezed from them by preachers who have turned the Bible into a weapon. We are the ones whose mission is to unbind others and let them go. And every time we do, we resist the fear and doubt that threatens to consume the world. And we replace that fear and doubt with hope. Hope for a new life. It's up to us to call each other out in the name of God and in the name of love. To call forth our true selves, which are made in God's image. The Gospel of Thomas, discovered in 1945, is an early Christian gospel, not found in our Bible, which reportedly contains the sayings of Jesus. One of those sayings attributed to Jesus says, "If you bring forth that which is within you, that which is within you will save you. If you do not bring forth that which is within you, that which you do not bring forth will destroy you." So let's resist the doubt and fear that will ultimately destroy us. And let's instead be about the business of bringing forth that which is within us, the hope and love which will save us and indeed the world. Amen.